The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Voch Lombardi, and Derek Eagleton.
Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of The Break live from SWBC Studios, and The Break is presented by LG, and I'm here today with Voch and Bryan Broaddus in the studio. Derek is out, but he'll be back later in the week, and I thought first of all, how are you guys doing?
Excellent. Can't complain about that.
Excellent.
We're doing all right.
Doing all right.
we good.
All right, well, first
done,
weekend of the NFL, we finally got to start off the season. We talked about, obviously, the loss of the Cowboys against the Eagles that happened Thursday night, but now we got a chance to watch all of the games play out, see what the outcome was. There's still one game happening tonight, which is Vikings versus Bears, and we'll see how that develops and what happens there. But in the meantime, I wanted to get your first reaction and get a feel of how are you guys feeling with currently how the NFL teams are looking like to start off the season.
Well, the Lions looked terrible yesterday, and that kind of made me a little mad because when the Lions play against you, they have these fantastic plays, 20 plays in a row, unstoppable. You can't beat them, and they go out there versus Green Bay. Micah wasn't even full time versus Green Bay. Micah was just like here and there, and pass rushing third downs, and at the end of the game, and the Lions just couldn't get going. Now, I think we should all have some type of, fanfare for the Lions because we want that Packers draft pick to be better for us, and the Lions couldn't deliver, so I was upset about that. Besides that, the Giants look like they're going to be beat up on next week when the Cowboys line up against them, and the Ravens and the Bills put up a classic, but that's it for me.
Yeah, I think that overall, though, I was kind of surprised how poorly the Dolphins played.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I mean, against the Colts, and we've seen that quarterback for the Colts, we've seen him not play very well for the Giants. So, yeah, and I was kind of surprised. I shouldn't say I'm surprised. I was like, well, they're just not getting better as the Giants with their offensive line. With the Commanders and their ability to create some pressure. Our old buddy Dorrance Armstrong, I think he had 9 pressures in that game. It was a high for his career. So something that Voch and I'll be kind of monitoring this week, watching the Giants tape and kind of figuring out, hey, as Voch would like to say, find the scrub. Yeah. Evidently, there's some scrubs playing there with the Giants and across that offensive line, and the Cowboys will need to take advantage of that. But you're right about the Ravens Bills game. I think that was an incredible game. Actually, Pittsburgh and the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, kind of a turn back the clock game for him with the touchdown passes that he had. He had 4 of them, and Steelers got off to a really, really nice start. So. Just unfortunate year starting the season 0-1, but there's a lot of football left to be played.
And we'll get to breaking down the Giants versus the Cowboys starting on this Wednesday. Yeah. But you mentioned the game against the Green Bay game against Detroit. They win that game 27-13. And I know a lot of people, there's a vast majority that are over this whole Micah Parsons conversation. They just don't want to talk about it anymore. But we're going to have to. I mean, this is the first game that he plays as a non-Cowboys player. He went over there. He had 1 sack, 3 quarterback pressures, and then forced a throw that led to an interception. So, and you mentioned he was limited in there. And there's this whole question of like, okay, has the back thing actually been an issue, or was that whole story fabricated and made up? But based on what you guys saw in that game, and we know he's a very, very productive player. We know that he was out during the whole training camp, didn't practice at all. What are your thoughts on just him and his performance versus kind of what the Cowboys maybe missed in that game against the Eagles?
Well, with Micah not playing the whole game, you really didn't get a good feel of him, on the rundowns and things like that. And if there's any criticism of him, it'll be him versus the run. The Cowboys looked decent in the run in the second half, but it took them a half to actually get there. As far as Micah goes, I think it's just conditioning thing. He didn't do a lot in camp, and he got traded last week, so he doesn't all the plays. I think the very first play he went out there, he looked around and said, "Hey, what to do?" Like he was just kind of talking to everybody else, and they just told him, "Hey, line up there and just rush." And if Micah's job is to line up there and rush, then he's gonna look fantastic there. One time they even line him up right over the center, just hey, rush right there, and that's cool. That's fantastic. Micah got his pressures, and he was good, and he was cool. The Cowboys pressure wise, I saw a little graphic floating around. 33rd team posted something. The Cowboys were in the high 40s in terms of pressure, and that was second place in the whole league. I think that had a lot to do with Jalen Hurts missing reads and holding the ball long, right? So if you're gonna go against a team that's gonna be pass efficient and get rid of the ball quickly, then you would need your pass rush to be a little better. But Micah was cool. I think the Cowboys pass rush they cool too.
The sicko and me went and watched him play on film this morning before we got in, and what's interesting is, and Voch is right, he didn't have a lot of snaps. He had 7 snaps as a run defender. When he was on the field, that was for -2 as a run defender. They were negative. Detroit had negative yards rushing when he was on the field as that. And then when the other times though, they had 18 rushes, I think for 48 yards. So you kind of saw a little bit of some difference there. You mentioned the pressures. I think there were 17 pass rush opportunities he had, 3 pressures and the 1 sack. So everybody very, very critical of him as a run defender. For Green Bay, at least for this first week, when he was on the field, those 7 run snaps, they were a -2. So that's a positive for them. And so it's going to be kind of a not a wait and see, but as they incorporate him, I think we'll pay more and more attention because we're all interested in that draft pick. Where's that thing going to fall? Everybody, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you're really not a Green Bay Packer fan. You want them to have as many losses as you can. But if you look at Micah Parsons and the way he played, and he did play with some physicality, taking on some double team blocks, setting the edge. Penny Sewell, one of the better right tackles in the league. There were a couple of times where they hooked it up pretty good. And so, it's going to be one of those things is the more that he gets comfortable and confident and in his teammates, you'll probably see more plays like that.
Bryan, you think that if the Cowboys on defense, right?
Sure.
Do you think that if they use a linebacker to just roam around and just follow Hurts more often, right?
Yeah.
Quarterback spy. Do you think that if they did that more often, that the Cowboys would have ended with more sacks in the game last Thursday?
I think if you had somebody, if you would have used Amaris Leofau, especially overshown in that game, I think would have made a big difference. And you and I, we did our show this morning, and I reached out to some people in the organization trying to get an idea about the spy stuff. Is this something that you're fundamentally against? Didn't get an answer back on that. So I'm kind of curious of why maybe you didn't feel like, or the defense didn't feel like it was necessary to have Amaris Leofau on the field, somebody that can run Hurts down. He's difficult. We saw in space what he's able to do that way. So, it's something that the Cowboys the next time, or with these quarterbacks that do like to run,
yeah.
You've got a couple of them coming up here. I mean, you're gonna deal with some, with Arizona that like to run, and so that's going to be something they're going to have to clearly work on.
And that was kind of a similar question that I wanted to ask the both of you. I know I see a lot of people trying to compare whether the deal was a good one now that you've seen both players play, and I'm talking about Micah Parsons and then Kenny Clark and that trade that the Cowboys made. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the two compare. They're just two different players, two different types of player. Clearly, the run defense was pretty effective last week for the Cowboys. But when we talk about pressure, and I know Derek has mentioned this term quite a few times, the fabricated pressure. How do you achieve that? What were some of the things that you were able to see or not see that you hope that the Cowboys are able to adjust moving forward, where they can start creating or fabricating those pressures?
Well, the first thing that you will have to do is get these teams away from running the football on you. Like, if they're constantly running the ball, then you won't have an opportunity to pass rush, anyway. Think about the Green Bay game yesterday. They got to rush the passer a whole bunch.
They sure did.
Because they was winning at the end.
Yeah.
And if you're winning at the end, you're going to have opportunities like that. But if you're having to deal with the run at the end of the game like the Cowboys were last week, then, of course, you're not going to have those opportunities. Fabricating pressure, so when Derek says that, what that mean? Like faking the pressure, like making up some pressure.
I wish he was here because I keep hearing him say that, and I'm like, what does that mean exactly?
Maybe manufacture pressure.
Manufacture.
If that's the case, then Trevon Diggs could have had a sack. Deron Bland made an attempt to get a sack.
There's your manufacturer.
Donovan Wilson is a notorious sack guy over the years or whatnot. And honestly, though, I think the Cowboys can get pressure with the guys that they have. It's just the running quarterback. So when you asked around with your golden phone there, Bryan, I would hope that there's not philosophical opposition to quarterback spies because all these quarterbacks run. All of them run.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's only maybe like 2 or 3 quarterbacks that's not going to run. The Cowboys have one of them, but besides that, you've even seen, Joe Burrow will run, and he's not even a run guy. But you just can't have Damone Clark turning his back, running deep thirds. I don't think that's going to help you. What I can give Quinn credit for when he was here is he was a notorious cover 3 guy. And he says, okay, well, I have these guys, so I'm going to run some man, we're going to do some blitz stuff, and then we'll rush 5. Flus just can't be like, especially since Micah's going now, Flus just can't be like, I'm going to rush 4, and that's just what it is. That can't be the case. So I think the DC is going to watch the film, and I think he's going to look himself in the mirror, and I think changes are coming because it has to be that way.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, Ambar, I do, and I think Voch is absolutely right about this, but you asked the question about how you manufacture more pressure. How about some better rushes? Yeah. And Voch and I talked about it again this morning on our show about how about you incorporate Houston more? How do you figure out, how to get Sam Williams more involved in some things? How do you figure out how to get Ezra Rocco? It was a rough first game for Ezra Rocco as a rusher initially, and then after the weather delay, he kind of got a little bit better feel for what he needed to do. But in some of these games, we haven't seen him have the impact like he had in some of these practices where he is just right on top of Dak Prescott when he's throwing the ball in practice. So, they need to figure out some more, with Fowler, that's one that they're going to have to. But the pressures, when you get guys, when you bring blitzes and you bring slot blitzes and you bring corner blitzes and all that stuff, those things have got to get home and they've got to finish. And they did not do a good enough job at that. There could have been a couple more sacks of Hurts just tackling better in the pocket, but it's going to be about Marshawn Nealon, playing him more. I think it's going to be more about playing Houston. These are guys that obviously know how to get to the quarterback.
And you mentioned Fowler, and we talked about him when he came back, being over there in Washington, and how effective he was at getting to the quarterback. Is his type of play, how does that fit into the scheme? Would he be able to be as effective as he was last year over there in Washington?
So the first edges that were out there was Sam and Fowler, right? So cool. I felt like Fowler didn't do some of the technical run things well, not overrunning things, staying at home, squeezing, thumping the puller, things like that. And, Fowler, he always got pass rush in his mind. And sometimes on these run reps, he's running upfield, shooting upfield. James Houston, strangely enough, has really sound run techniques. Sam is an imposing figure. If I can make a vouch for anything, Coach Flus, if you're listening, it's probably not, and if he is, he ain't gonna listen to me no way. But Marshawn Nealon should get more reps because Marshawn Nealon has proven to you that he's the more dominant rundown guy anyway. But he's working to be a better pass rusher in general. So if you're gonna give somebody reps, give Nealon the reps. Nealon got the sack. Now it should be half Nealon, half Clark, so that we sitting around here saying, hey, y'all remember Clark got that sack on Sunday, but they gave the whole sack to Nealon, so I'll just say it in that way. I think leading with him more, maybe in the first quarter, or just maybe clear rundowns, first down, second down, let Nealon operate first, and then when we get out to the NASCAR packages, that's when you can roll Fowler out. Bryan, one thing that we always mention, if they're going to use Donovan Donovan Ezeraku like Micah. I would love to see Donovan Ezeraku off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, exactly.
Put him in A gap somewhere and let him rush over John Michael Smith this week. That'll be a fantastic go for him. But he was just lined up over Mailata and just rushing from there.
Yeah.
That's not a great first matchup for your guy. You know what I mean? You want to be able to find the scrub there. Put him over Steen or something. So I think the more that Flus is going to get a little groove, I think things would be better. But just right now, I would just vouch to give Nealon, more reps early.
Well said.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, that gives hope because it allows you to know that this is not what we saw last game is not necessarily what you're going to see or continue to see throughout the season. You have the players that are capable of getting to the quarterback, and you're able, hopefully, to find the perfect balance between getting to the rushing the quarterback and then also focusing on stopping that run in the run defense. Let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we'll get right into Voch's question that's eager to get out of his mouth. So, right after the break.
AT&T has a new guarantee because most things in life are not guaranteed, like getting through self-checkout by yourself.
Warning, each item must be placed in the bagging area.
Not guaranteed.
Place item in the bagging area. Place item in the bagging area.
You know what AT&T guarantees? Connectivity you depend on, deals you want, and service you deserve. Or we make it right. Terms and conditions apply. Visit att.com/guarantee for details. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman here. As the official pitmaster of the Dallas Cowboys, you know I take cookware seriously, especially when it comes to America's team. So when the Cowboys are away, I'm putting my Yeti cast iron skillets to work to make my game day favorites for friends and family. I'm talking chicken fried steak, skillet queso, and peach cobbler. And just like the Cowboys are forever, so are these heirloom cast iron skillets. Check out the full line of skillets on Yeti.com or at a Yeti store near you.
Every day begins with a promise to work hard and to build a future. That's why we're here, providing the tools, expertise, and John Deere equipment you have relied on for generations to help you get the job done right. We're with you. That's our promise to you, because no matter the project or the challenge you're facing,
we're with you. We're united. If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's stay-in-your-car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the break.
Choose perfection. Choose LG OLED Evo. Check out the best TV in the game at LG.com.
Thank you, Bryan. Welcome back to the second segment of The Break presented by blockchain.com. All right, Voch, you had something on Kenny. Tell us about it.
Man, Ambar Garcia, I was watching the film, and it's just a lot of social media chatter going around Kenny Clark and the whole him versus Micah conversation. I think you put it really well. Like they're two totally different guys. I just want to say Kenny Clark is fantastic, man. He's much better than I thought. I know that we went back to the 2024 film.
Yeah,
he had the hurt toe.
Right.
I went back to the 23 film. He was incredible. 7.5 sacks, tackles for loss, all this kind of stuff. So, when we're talking about pass rushing and manufacturing the rush and all that, you have to count on your B-gap guys as well, or your A-gap guys as well. So Kenny Clark rushing over the center, I'll take it. And these are like Landon Dickerson guys, right? Like starter guys, good guys. Let him rush and go in there. And if he can get 7, if Kenny Clark gives you 7 sacks on top of whatever your edges do. I don't think I've been a Cowboy fan long enough to know that a one tech was competing sack wise with the edge guys. That would be interesting. And then there's Osa, right? Like let him be the bursty upfield guy and let him get some sacks. Perion Winfrey, we was talking about it earlier, Bryan, on our podcast there. Is he going to be active when his back is not hurting? I could see him being a guy, maybe not as many as some of these other guys, but if he gives you 2 or 3 sacks in a year, I think that's another win too. But that's all I want to say. Get some rush from the interior as well.
I'll tell you what, I really like what you're saying about the defensive tackle spot. And to me, and Amber, I'll ask you this question because Voch asked me this question today, is would you change anything about the defensive tackle rotation? Or did you like with JT in there or is Winfrey going to have a hard time getting in there, Mozzie, any of that? Or would you change anything about what you saw from the defensive tackle room? Because that's the one area that I kind of felt like that maybe I'd let this thing ride another week. I was pretty positive about the outcome from those guys.
No, I'm with you guys. I think I was pretty pleased with what I saw, especially week 1. I would be willing to see something very similar coming in week 2. And then you adjust from there. You see, and just kind of how Brian Schottenheimer mentioned during that press conference, I brought it up the other week. If you earn your spot, earn your playtime, and then I'm good with that. But I'm very pleased with those guys and Winfrey. What you mentioned, I think your evaluation headed into week 1 was spot on what he was able to do. I was gonna ask you guys now with the linebacker group. This is a group that leading into week 1 of the season, it was an area of concern for the Cowboys. And you look at what compared to last year and knowing that Overshawn, he's been hurt. He's going to be out for a good while. But in the meantime, I wanted to get you guys' opinion on some of how this group looked and some of what you can expect moving forward.
They didn't look great. In the first half of the game especially, they didn't look great. Some guys look lost. Some guys look like they were kind of caught in the wash. There were a handful of times you'll see guys like standing in place and not really attacking gaps. I think that they're going to have to be much more aggressive. I think they're going to have to see things a little better. And that could start with bringing in Leofau and see if that'll change up your room a little bit. You can't have 2 lost guys or 2 guys kind of caught up in the wash. Clark did fine in the second half of the game. And I wonder if it's certain play calls that they're just not comfortable with. Think about Murray. He didn't do very much in camp at all. He didn't play any games. Sanborn at least did joint practices. He at least worked out a little bit, but no games for those guys. Sometimes you have to be in a game to see all this stuff happen around you, full speed while somebody coming at you. It just seemed like the linebackers just didn't get going. As a whole, they just didn't get going. Maybe a guy like Leofau, who's been practicing, doing everything every day, playing all the linebacker spots, Sam, Mike, Will, and he played in actual preseason games. And he's out there on the team's unit smoking people, right? Starting fights, ripping helmets off, right? So, he's warmed up. Leofau's ready to go. He fought back. I would love to see him get a shot. As far as how far down the depth chart do you go? Let me see one more week what adding Leofau looks like to the party. If it continues to be bad, then maybe you have to go with your rookie Shamar James, see what he looks like. But just as of now, it just wasn't encouraging. And Bryan, it could be the fact that Jalen Hurts ran around so much that just made you feel bad about your linebackers there.
Yeah, I felt like if you look at the 3 areas on the defense, the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary, the linebackers by far were the poorest of all the group. And they're going to have to, and I don't know if this is look at it another week, but I think Maris Leofau needs to have an opportunity here. I think that you talk about somebody that's can run, is physical, will tackle in space. I feel like that needs to show up more than say the 6 or 7 plays that he got in that defensive game for them.
Bryan, let's say that Leofau plays more.
Yeah.
Where do you play him, and how much do you take away from somebody else to get him more reps?
I'm kind of feeling like, though, he's
Mike, Will, Sam as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like, to me, what I would do with him would be always consider having him play as a will linebacker. And I say will linebacker because I like the way that he's able to kind of read and run. So I'd like to keep him unblocked as much as I can. You play him at Mike, you play him at Sam, he's going to have to be dealing with blockers really all day.
Sure.
But if you play him at the will linebacker spot, or you play him the opposite, maybe you play him and Sanborn in the nickel and take Murray off the field. Yeah. But I would play him in a role where he gets to potentially rush, because the guy can blitz. If you want to bring an extra rusher, he's a guy that kind of, you watch him at Notre Dame, he had a feel for that. He had a feel for attacking the pocket. So I would try and keep him as clean as possible and let him rush as much as possible as well.
Also, too, Brian, think about how you were able to deal with Barkley in the second half after the rain delay and all this. You were able to deal with him even with your linebackers playing weird. So just think about how good your D-line is now.
Agree. Yeah.
As opposed to what it has been, right? So now that gives me comfort that I can mess around with different combinations of linebackers because I feel good about my D-line.
Agreed.
Giants are coming up. That O-line probably not going to do a good job blocking you anyway. I think this week is a fantastic time to just try some stuff out.
Since you bring that, the way they came back in after the rain delay stuff.
For sure.
In the defense specifically, Did you guys see any kind of improvement or change in the linebacker position?
Run fit scheme. They played a lot better. They took that hour and they probably went to each individual player and said, "Listen, you guys play hero ball. They're going to beat us here in the second half. You need to find a way to play assignments. If I call this blitz, make sure everybody handle it. If I call this front, make sure everybody handle it." Nobody try and do anything more than what your responsibilities are. And I felt like as a unit, they played much better with the fits, as Voch said.
Yeah, just physical read and
they played on the Eagles side of the line of scrimmage. That's why I'm interested, like in a guy like potentially Perrion Winfrey with taking maybe JT's spot. I'm thinking about it, when they were playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, it was disrupting the Philadelphia blocking scheme and disrupting the run game.
Yeah.
So if you get guys that are going to penetrate and play that way, then I think that's the best avenue. I think Winfrey is that type of guy. Winfrey, Osa, and then also too with all our guys there. I mean, I think that with Clark, that group, Thomas, all that group, I think all those guys could play on the other side of the line of scrimmage and be disruptive that way.
Now, Brian, I'm about to wing something at you. We didn't talk about this. We didn't rehearse it, but you watched the film, and I trust you.
Yeah.
You saw when Donovan Wilson walked down a little bit. That also helped. Donovan Wilson and Marquise Bell.
Right.
Do you see a world – we'll never play as much dime as we did with Quinn or whatnot, Brian.
Yeah.
But do you think that there's a world where if your linebackers are a little weird, that your safeties can kind of help in that way?
I think it's an option that I would definitely have to consider. I would consider them playing weird and then try and kind of figure that out first. And if they continue to be weird, then I'm on the phone trying to find somebody that can play the position. And then the next thing would be then to work on getting the safeties more involved.
One more. How long until you see Buddy Johnson involved?
I think Buddy's kind of my special teams guy, and I don't know. I mean, I watched him in some of the stuff during preseason, and I feel like that he's got a nose for the ball, but I don't know if I would trust him. I would go with James before I would go with Buddy in this. If you had one of your special teams guys become a guy that's involved with the everyday scheme.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we'll see once they start practicing out here. But with Winfrey, I know since that's a guy that you keep talking about, Bryan.
Yeah.
When is he expected to come back?
Well, he had the back spasms, and it hit him last week, and then he just could not practice. And hopefully those have subsided and maybe gone away to where he can go out and practice. Because
he didn't do anything last week.
Not at all. And so that was just a week where he was going to be an active guy, but there were people in the building telling me that, hey, Bryan, he might be an inactive guy anyway. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, please don't tell me that he's inactive because Mozzie Smith's active.
I don't believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that they, to me, just continue to make, as you said, Ambar, make Mozzie continue to work. Make him continue to work to try and be an active guy. And if he's ready, they'll play him. And if he's not, he could stand over there with us on the sidelines and watch the rest of the team play.
All right, let's go ahead and take our final break. When we come back, let's dive into the running backs and how they looked and what happened with Jaden Blue. Why was he inactive? And is this expected to be a reoccurrence this upcoming week after the break?
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
As America's leading business lender, Bank of America is on your corner and in your corner. With over $9 billion in business loans and more than 140 business specialists right here in North Texas, we help businesses thrive so communities prosper. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA Club World Cup 2025. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
AT&T has a new guarantee because most things in life are not guaranteed, like getting through self-checkout by yourself.
Warning, each item must be placed in the bagging area.
Not guaranteed.
Place item in the bagging area. Place item in the bagging area.
You know what AT&T guarantees? Connectivity you depend on, deals you want, and service you deserve. Or we make it right. Terms and conditions apply. Visit att.com/guarantee for details. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
Back to the break.
AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
That's my favorite read. So simple to the point. There you go. Thanks, Bryan.
AT&T, we're better than everyone else.
Thanks.
I wanted to talk about the running back group. We didn't really get a chance to fully dive into that last week. And just a reminder on the stats. Javonte Williams, he got 15 rushes, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Miles Sanders, 4 rushes, 53 yards. He had that long one, which was
long run,
49.
49, yeah.
49, and then that fumble that was very hurtful for the Cowboys. Yep. Before we get into Jaden Blue, based on what you saw from the running back group, how do you assess what they were able to do?
I think this line is going to make it easy for everybody. Now, Javonte pairs with them well because he's patient and he's physical. So the more Tyler's pound on you, like he gets to come behind you and then pound. There was this one play. Damn. There was this one boy. That was his one play. Boy. Javonte Williams. Boy, he just got up there and he dragged. Damn, boy, he dragged everybody.
That's all you.
After they caught him or whatever, he dragged an additional 10 yards there. You know, Javonte just runs hard, and I think that pairs well with this line. However, when you do have the opportunities to kind of break one in the open field there, I think you would want your running back to not get caught from behind. So if anything, Williams gained a lot of trust from me, and I would love to see him get more opportunities. I know the game is gonna dictate a lot. So like if you got CD with some corner that shouldn't be lined up against him, then throw the ball to CD, get him 13 targets, that's fine, cool. But most of these games, especially versus some of these other teams that can't deal with your O-line, run the ball right at them and see what happens. Yeah,
I think there's a couple things we need to kind of figure out here is that did Blue the golden phone, as Voch likes to call it, told me that they did this because of some special teams reasons to get Flournoy on the field. They felt like that Flournoy was a better special teamer in the summer. Blue had a couple of tackles in games when he was a cover guy, but that's kind of where that was. I think that you also need to ask yourself in this game or getting up to the week of the game, are we in a situation where maybe they felt more comfortable that Blue didn't have all the assignments down? And, and Voch and I again talked about it this morning, was that his health. Yeah, he, missed time, then got nicked up again. Was he missing practice time and all that? This is just me thinking out loud, folks. Please don't tag Blue in this and say, oh, you're a dumb guy and all that. That's not the case at all. But I wonder if there were things that they were worried about, maybe some missed practice time that that he wasn't going to be able to carry from the field to the game, and they were a little bit worried about that in week 1. This is a group that I would kind of say, I'm going to let this ride another week with what they have and see if in fact, Blue, maybe he'll work his way in eventually, but I kind of feel like I'm going to give this running back room one more week of kind of seeing how it's at, see what you got with Sanders a little bit more. Then if you have to, then, against the Bears the following week, if you don't feel like it's good enough, I would give Williams actually more touches myself if it was me. And I think maybe 4 or 5 more touches running the football, I think would help Dak a lot. I think Dak played very, very, very well, as we all saw, but also I'm in a situation where I feel like they could have ran the ball a little bit better too, maybe with some Williams. So I'm going to let this thing for one more week probably ride and see where we're at. And if it needs to be switched to the following week against the Bears, I'm more open to doing that.
That's interesting that you say that, because I see a lot of people eager to see Jaden Blue, and after week 1, yes, they're willing to take Sanders out and replace him with Blue. Looking at who you got up next, the New York Giants, I mean, is this a week that maybe it's a perfect week for a guy like Jaden Blue to get out there and get some play time?
What about this, though, Voch, and help me with this?
Yes, sir.
The edges for this team, we feel like are pretty good, right? Yeah. The defensive tackles are hard to block. Sure. I mean, that's a hard group. I mean, I know the Commanders had some success running the football, a little bit against these guys. But I'm just gonna think about it this way: is if it turns into where you're having to throw the football, are you the most comfortable with him as the blitz pickup guy? Are you the most comfortable with him helping on these edges? To me, the Eagles were not a big blitz team. So maybe it was a little bit better for him to probably play. But they started blitzing later. Without really kind of seeing the Giants, we'll see them on tape. Yeah. I just wonder if it's about the pressure. If it's about pressure, can Blue help you in that regard? That might be their worry as far as the second back goes in this game.
Pass pro would be the only reason that I would be. I wouldn't even say bearish, but just kind of like shy on Blue, because Williams does it really well, right? I'm just thinking about Blue and his upside. Blue doesn't get caught from behind, right? Yeah. So I want to just get him involved because I know or at least I have a feel about what he can be, right? Now, as far as running the ball against Dexter Lawrence and all those guys, Bryan, the Cowboys have actually kind of shown you, even over the years when like Broaddus and Hoffman, Connor McGovern, they'll still kind of run the ball,
right?
And you made a great point last week. Jalen Carter or not, Jordan Davis or not, we're built powerfully in the middle.
We're built better to handle that, yeah.
Right. So, whether it be Dexter Lawrence or my man's with 3 names, Roy Johnson Jenkins, I don't even know his name, but I feel great about Bookers and BB in that middle. I feel good about TG out there versus those edges, because Brian Burns is a great pass rusher, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. TG's still 320 or something for a left tackle, and he's shown some really good things in the run game, Brian. I wouldn't be afraid to run the ball versus Giants, and I think versus them you can be balanced, and we'll talk about it later this week. But you can throw the ball and run, but I wouldn't go away from the run just because Lawrence is in there. You got BB, Book, and Big Tyler in there, so it's cool.
Well, knock on wood, on all the kinds of wood. I mean, the Cowboys, based on the history, they tend to compete very well and very good against the Giants. So that's the only reason why I'm saying, I would love to see Jaden Blue get a shot at it this week to get him into the mix. Also, we talk a lot about the differences in their abilities. Jaden Blue, he brings something completely different versus what you got in between Williams and Sanders, that they're kind of more similar on that boat.
That's why we're advocating for Blue. Like it's not like a please Lord anybody but Sanders.
Right.
It ain't that.
No. Yeah.
It's just that we know Blue is not getting caught by Zach Bond. We just know that. So in the event that Blue does break off a big run, it's more than likely 6. So it's just offensive upside at this point. And then you add him to the passing game. Does it help your wide receivers even more, right? So it's just those things. And I think Cowboy fans just don't want to leave food on the table. They just want to try everything. They want to be as best as possible. And we all know that Blue can make big plays, allegedly, because he ain't done it yet. But we just want to see what that looks like.
Wait till you talk about food on the table. Wait till Voch tells you he wants Nate Thomas to play right tackle.
Well, I ain't say that per se, but it is something that the Cowboys can look at if right tackle continues to be an issue versus Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter. But we'll see.
When are you wanting to see that happen?
Well, we were talking about offensive line this morning on the Doing All Right podcast. We were talking about offensive line. And I was like, man, boy, 4 out of 5 of us, I say us because I'm ex-offensive line, played really well, you know? So I was like, how much more from Terrence Steele do you have to see before you just start changing things up at right tackle? So it wasn't Nate Thomas in particular. Your ass said Nate Thomas. I said, do you want to see change at all?
Didn't you? You wanted to see. I was thinking, you're the one that convinced me to play. You're like, hey, playing Nate Thomas at left tackle over Awesome Richards is a good move because of the power he plays with.
If
this guy might be a natural right tackle.
So you're on the same boat.
I'm to the point when
it's his idea. He just putting me on the spot. But
I just want to drag somebody into the fight is what I wanted to do. Amber, what do you think? Nate Thomas, right tackle? A little more power over there?
I like Nate. I love the guy, actually.
I like Steele too, by the way, and I know it's foolish talk, but if you're talking about kind of moving guys around,
I'm not ready to do that though.
Okay, I'm good.
Not yet. Let me see another week, and then we'll talk about it again. I think Steele, he's an interesting one because
nice block on the long run.
You've seen him play really, really well. Yeah. And then you've seen him struggle in the past. And you talk about the times where he was injured and now he's back to being full healthy and all of that. So is he capable of getting back to that level that we once saw? I feel like it was only 1 year where we saw him be really, really good. Or solid, I would say. It wasn't somebody that was giving you issues there. But am I at the point of like this week I'm sitting down taking him out? No. I'm clearly by your smile and your faces, you guys are at that point.
I don't know, man. To me, if you're gonna run the ball with Williams, I'll take some power up there.
So you're saying that
if you got him and Booker, Thomas and Booker on the same side.
So you're saying Terrence Steele climbing to the damn free safety did nothing to you?
Hey, how about this? How about this? Terrence, no, he did fine. How about Terrence Steele, extra big blocker lineman move guy?
That'd be fun. Yeah. That'd be fun. But I think that's what I think that's what Nate is.
Now you're okay with me, huh?
Terrence Steele has caught passes in the past now.
I'm just saying. Put an 80 number on him, we might be okay.
I think at the end of the day, Bryan Broaddus, Nate
back
Thomas,
to reality.
Nate Thomas and his power is intriguing, and this is an offensive line that's built on power, that's built on moving bodies, and that's exactly what they did, Bryan. They moved bodies.
Kind of feel like he's the future, maybe.
Okay, this is what you guys think and would want to see, but let's think about
reality.
I want to see Terrence play. Hold
on, because here's the difference. I think that this coaching staff brings is, based on everything that I've heard, and we're starting off the season, but I feel like they're not afraid to make the changes needed or make the switches or whatever. So, do you guys?
You going to see Merce Leofow play this week?
Damn. Well,
I
think Terrence.
I mean, you're kind of cheering for him, and I don't know if they'll do it. I don't know if and it's fun to talk about, from up in the clouds, up from the press box, talk about all this. But will they really, really, really do it? And I like what you're thinking. I like you're trying to will it, but I don't know if they'll make all the changes that we just talked about.
We won't see Nate till next year unless something happens.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think 1 week, 1 game in is a little too soon. But
that's why we're doing radio, Ambar. Ambar, that's why we're doing radio.
No, I like it. I like it. But I'm eager to see, again, talking about that and those changes, I'm eager to see what kind of changes
the defensive changes.
Makes.
I would rather see the defensive changes.
Right.
Put it that way.
Terrence is not killing you.
No, I'd rather see the
your linebackers
changes.
killed you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we're about to end the show right now. It's almost it's time. We didn't get to really talk a whole lot about the cornerbacks. I wanted to talk a little bit more of that.
They were really good. They did fantastic for sure. Question is, the more Diggs gets healthy,
start Diggs and start Bland and play the nickel. Bring our guy Elam off the bench.
Yep.
Start working on those turnovers. They practice on that all training camp, trying to knock those balls out. So I'm hoping we get to see that translate onto actual game days. With that, we end the show.
There's your 45.
45. All right. For Voch Lombardi, Bryan Broaddus, and Ambar Garcia, this has been The Break on Dallas Cowboys, Cowboys.com/radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!